But the thing is here, Mark, right? I mean, when I was a young pup of a journo and John Bannon was Premier of South Australia, I remember going to Whyalla. It was under threat then. As a steel city and formerly a shipbuilding city, it's always been under threat. And with what Labor's done with clean energy and renewables and increasing all these costs, it's been consistently under threat. And there's a Labor minister mocking it as if there's no threat. Well, here's two Labor governments today pumping $2 billion more of taxpayers' money to try and keep the steelworks and therefore the whole city alive. It's no joke.
Yeah, it'll shock you right out of your brain, mate. It's there was part of me that had high hopes last night when I saw Malinowski. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, the big fella, because I do like him, and I saw it and it was like, maybe we are going to get back on track. We're going to give up on this green hydrogen fantasy. We're going to get steel manufacturing back in the country. You know, we're gonna get cheap energy. Maybe this is a sign of good things to come. And then you see Albo's booked a flight, and he's signed himself a $2.4 billion cheque to get down there. Who cares about that now? We've got the interest rate cut. Everyone thinks I'm fiscally responsible. Let's go, boys. Let's go burn some money. Let's go chuck it down the dunny in Whyalla. Yeah. Why not? Let's keep this dream alive. The thing about green hydrogen is it's exactly the same as this Albo's fiscal responsibility. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It might exist in a lab, and everyone that tells me that it's real is crazy, out of their mind, needs to get their head checked. It's not real. Don't believe it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Tim Malinowski has scrapped his green energy plan now, and he's tipping that $600 million into this plan. So it's a reality check. But what really does my head in, how is Labor's policies and its folly on these sorts of ventures that has made this place so precarious. And along the way, of course, they get sucked in by a businessman with gold teeth, in this case Sanjeev Gupta. He's taken all sorts of government grants and subsidies because he speaks their language and he talks the green garbage, and he sponsors, his company gets his company to sponsor Malinowski's footy team, the Port Power, and he plays all those games. But guess what? The steelworks don't work and the taxpayers have to bail them out again. It's just, how many times do you have to see this happen?
It's a beautiful cycle they've got going here, isn't it? Where Labor creates the circumstances that make things cost too much, and then they come in like, you know, hey everyone, we're here to rescue it by throwing your money at it. Yeah. Your money to the situation they've engineered. It's a little like, you know, nice shop you got here. Be a pity if something happened to it. You know, it's a little bit racketeery, isn't it?
Yeah.
And,
well, I'll tell you what. Just on that,
talking about let the market sort it out.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look then. Very much in keeping with that theme, the Victorian state government, where they've created the bin fire of an ever-expanding public service and throwing money and employing public servants hands over fist. Well, now suddenly the Treasurer has got this to say.
Resizing the VPS to a share of the share of employment that existed pre-pandemic, before the pandemic. That's a clunky way of saying, if you, on the raw figures, between 2,000 and 3,000 VPS jobs would be expected to go.
She's going to get rid of 2,000 or 3,000 public servants, Mark. She's gone all Elon Musk.
Yeah, finally, we're getting it. I tell you what, this morning, or whatever time this announcement was, I reckon there was a whole bunch of dressing gowns from government workers that were absolutely soiled. There was a lot of Cocoa Pops getting spilled all over their dressing gowns. They were straight into the next Zoom meeting. Everyone was there, ready to be, just to make sure that they were counted for and working really hard and completely, you can't get rid of them. But you know what's really sad about this as well is that we've got to wait 6 months, I think, until this review comes back. That's the difference between what's happening in the States is they're not mucking around. Yeah. This is all just theatrics and show. And 6.5, I think they're talking about 6,500 jobs now. I reckon it's just a good start. I'd be working from the top down.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. They got Elon Musk to Adelaide once to install a $100 million battery. Yeah. Get him down to Melbourne to go through the public service. I think he'd go more than 2,000 or 3,000 public servants. And Tim, the great advantage the public servants have is they're all working from home. So as long as they stay there, they can't get sacked.
Yes. I mean, what are we talking about? I think Mark mentioned 6,500 overall. Well, you know, that's just basically Dan Andrews' old press office. I mean, they've got to get rid of a few more. They've got to go a bit harder and longer than that. And but if they do this, I mean, this is an extraordinary number of people. Well, so to be clear, public servants, and it's in a public servant state. It's a real desperation move. I mean, I'd love to see Victorian Labor's internal numbers, they must be dire.
Now, we saw earlier in the week Tom Hanks showing Trump supporters to be dumb and racist. He hates all the people who buy the tickets to see his movies. Now, Whoopi Goldberg doesn't even want to hear from anyone who voted Trump. Have a look.
You are going to find there are a lot of things Donald Trump does that I agree with, but then there are things I think are dangerous, reckless, and want to call out. So you have to be able to talk to people who, it doesn't have to be all this or all that, but find movement on the things that matter.
It's hard to talk to people who support people who think you don't matter in the country.
Yeah, they just don't want to talk to people who voted the wrong way. They're against sort of half the country or more, Mark.
Yeah, that's right. I think we all had high hopes that this was the end of wokeness. I actually think that they're huddling together and they're getting stronger as they go. And it's the language around that person. I just kind of want to see that person get back on the mic and do the old Rosie O'Donnell, have a bit of a spray on Whoopi Goldberg. But I actually kind of agree with her. I think she's right. I don't think that person thinks she matters, because the only time she matters is when she's talking about that person.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks so much, Mark. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend, guys. We'll catch you next week. Tim Blair and Mark Nicholson there.